Most fleet owners think they have a low demand problem, but really, they don't. What they actually have is a driver utilization problem, and it's costing them money every single day. You see, what looks like low demand is usually drivers sitting idle at the wrong places at the wrong times without clear structure. So today, I'm going to break down where fleets are losing trips, why drivers spend long hours idle, and where to begin actually fixing it without adding more cars or drivers. First, let's start with what's happening on the ground. Most fleets already have more than enough cars. They already have more than enough drivers than they actually realize. But yet, performance still feels poor. Yet, performance still feels unstable. Trips are inconsistent, drivers are complaining about earnings, and fleet owners feel as though the platform is not giving enough demand. But when you take a closer look, you find that demand is not the issue. What the issue really is how supply is being structured. It's how supply is being used. It's how supply is being utilized. Drivers log in at any random time, they move without structure, and they sit in the same areas that everyone else does. So what happens? What happens is that you get a situation where drivers are technically online but not productive. And that gap between being productive and being online, that's where most of the moolah is lost. That's where most of the money is lost. From what I've seen and known, this goes down to majorly three core problems. One, idle time hidden in plain sight. Drivers think they're working simply because they're online. But when you break that down, you discover that a large part of their time is spent just waiting. That's waiting for requests, waiting in low demand areas, and waiting without actually realizing how much time is being lost. Two, poor positioning. Naturally, drivers tend to move towards the same hotspot. So instead of spreading across demand, they cluster in one area. Now you have too much supply in one area, while there's little to no supply in other areas, which means some drivers get trips, while others remain or sit idle. And three, no structure, no defined shift, no clear planning for peak hours, and there's no performance tracking. So it's mostly log in whenever you want, drive to wherever you want, and hope for the best. But that lack of structure creates inconsistency across the entire fleet. So how do you fix this? Not by adding more cars or drivers, and absolutely not by waiting for more demand. You fix this by improving how the existing fleet operates. Step 1. Structure the shifts. Instead of everyone logging in at any random time, you define who works during peaks, who covers middays, and who handles late nights if need be. This alone improves availability and reduces overlap. Step 2. Zone discipline. Here you identify high demand areas, low demand areas, and how demand shifts during the day. Once that's done, drivers don't just move randomly. They wait strategically, they relocate intentionally, and they avoid overcrowded zones. Step 3. Track idle time. Not just total hours worked, but time between trips, because that's where inefficiency hides. And once you start tracking it, idle time, you actually can see which drivers are underperforming and where the gaps really are. And finally, basic performance tracking. That's trips per driver, active hours, and idle time. It's nothing complicated, but it's more than enough to move you from guessing to actually managing performance. Let me give you a simple example. Let's suppose you have a fleet of 10 cars and each driver is doing 8 trips per day. On the surface level, that might seem okay, but when you break it down, you usually find 4 to 5 hours of idle time per driver. Now imagine you reduce that idle time, improve positioning, and shift structure. You don't add more cars, you don't increase demand. But suddenly, each driver moves from 8 to 10 trips or even 12 trips per day. Now if you ask me, that's a significant increase in revenue from just improving how the existing system or how the existing fleet operates. So basically what I'm trying to say here, or the key takeaway here, is that most fleets don't have a demand problem. They have a structure problem. And until that's fixed, adding more cars or drivers or waiting for better demand won't solve anything. If you're running a fleet or if you're involved in managing drivers and you want to understand where your performance is leaking, I'm open to taking a look at your numbers and showing you exactly where the gaps are. No pressure, just clarity. So feel free to DM, send me an email, or drop or leave a comment below. I'm your brother, George X.